Hi there, rebels. Happy Monday and happy belated Monday. The day has just got ahead of me today, and now it's almost actually dinner time or tea time. So today I wanted to jump on and talk about eating your emotions, and I'm going to come on to that a little bit later. But I wanted to start to talk about bloating, irritability, mood swings, and weight gain, all wrapped up into that sort of power, if you like, powerful combination. And then talk about eating your emotions a little bit later. So, firstly, I wanted to talk a bit about bloating. So, maybe you have experienced as soon as you eat your lunch at lunchtime, your sort of stomach inflates, and particularly if you're working, what you really want to do is to, I don't know, unzip your trousers or undo those buttons, but you can't because you're sat at desk and you've got people around you. So, what causes that bloating in our perimenopause and menopause? And it is likely to be estrogen and progesterone, again having a bit of a ping pong match and those kind of fluctuation in our hormones. But actually bloating can be related to other lifestyle factors too. It can be related to your diet, how much exercise you do, how much movement you do, and you could also be prone to bloating if you're sensitive to particular foods or you have allergies. And actually, when we are going through perimenopause and menopause, we can actually find, and you may find, and I've certainly found, that you might become more sensitive to certain foods, lactose intolerant, gluten intolerant, and you may find you're becoming more and more intolerant to alcohol too. So just a very few tips from me. So chewing our food and making sure that we keep our mouths closed as well. It might sound a simple thing, but if we've got our mouths open, we're taking in more oxygen, more air, and that can cause bloating too. Staying hydrated is really key. It can not only sort of fend off unwanted bloating, but it can help with other menopause symptoms as well, which will be our food cravings and our hot flushes. And if you can, avoid chewing gum and carbonated drinks. So, your sparkling waters, any of your diet drinks, if you like those. The other thing I was going to suggest, and I'm about to embark on it too, is a low FODMAP diet. Now, essentially, FODMAPs are sort of short chain carbohydrates. I won't sort of bombard you with the actual meaning behind the word, which we may struggle to digest. And they can actually end up fermenting in our bowel and create excess gas and bloating too. And you may be also a sufferer of digestive orders such as IBS. So in following this low FODMAP diet can help to reduce sort of bloating and trapped wind. Also consider, if not eliminating, your alcohol intake as well. So alcohol can be very, very inflammatory for us on our gut, can really irritate our digestive system. Particularly wine and beer can contain those good old sulfates, which can aggravate our tummies. And then avoid or reduce your intake as much as possible. Maybe just limit it to spirits with a sort of a mixer, a flat mixer, if you do want to indulge. Then I want to talk about irritability. We all probably know that feeling, very grouchy, maybe irrational at times. Sometimes you might think, I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. I'm reacting in a certain way, but there's part of me thinking, God, what's going on here? So some quick tips: walking, focusing on our breath, maybe taking out those sugary processed foods, reducing our caffeine intake if we can, because it creates that adrenaline rush, and then the brakes are sort of slammed on, and we quite often then could get a headache. So, and that plays back to that alcohol as well. If we've now got an alcohol intolerance, we can end up with those real fuzzy heads, that sort of alcohol headache the next morning. And mood swings, yes, the ups and the downs, that's sort of the roller coaster of emotions, so unpredictable, which it can be for all of us and those around us as well. And you may actually be thinking, am I depressed? Am I going mad? But actually, no, it's the roller coaster of emotions. So it's estrogen again, going up, going down, and it signals the production of serotonin too, which is another mood booster. So some tips here is to accept and be kind to yourself, and accepting that those ups and downs, they will pass. And actually acknowledging what you're experiencing. Yes, it is unpleasant, but it's completely normal too. It's remembering it's not our faults, it will pass. It's that kind of mantra, it's not me, it's my hormones, and be gentle with yourself. A great book I would recommend, I was listening to a podcast the other day, is something by a lady called Mel Robbins, and she talks about getting up in the morning, looking at the mirror, into the mirror, just sort of high-fiving ourselves, say, yeah, we've got this and it will pass. It's our hormones. And actually letting it out, giving ourselves some time and space to let out how we feel, maybe a listening ear or looking for a hug too. And breathing, thinking about and focusing on the breath. And maybe it's time, if you don't already do so, is to weaving in some relaxation time. So that can be yoga, it can be meditation, just some sort of downtime. It can even be exercise. And also thinking about food. We've got Christmas coming up, and thinking about the good old turkey sandwich. And it's thinking about foods that really can help maintain our mood. So complex carbohydrates like oats and quinoa, the protein-rich foods, so the turkey, the eggs, the cheese, the omega-3 packed foods such as fish, can help to really stabilizes our blood sugar, helps our mental state, and it helps to sort of maintain and not create that sort of roller coaster of blood sugar. So you might want to consider finding yourself a good nutritionist. And finally, I wanted to come on to weight gain. Now, I hear myself say this, and you may hear yourself saying this as well. I'll get back to the diet on Monday. And Monday comes and we think, can I get back on the diet? So we want to lose those pounds because during our perimenopause and our menopause years, we just seem to find that that weight seems to sort of cling to our midline, our midriff, and we just can't get rid of it. And actually, we're probably thinking, oh, we'll go on that diet again, which seemed to work in our 20s and our 30s, but it no longer works for us. And it kind of leaves us with that feeling of what on earth is going on, that weight is harder to shift these days. And actually, muscle mass does diminish with age, and it slows the rate at which our body burns calories. So as we say, if we eat as we've always done, we're going to now get what we didn't have before, which is that weight hanging around our midline, and we're likely to expand. Now, if you stir in other menopause symptoms into that sort of melting pot of the fatigue, the joint pain, the cravings, and the difficulty sleeping, it's all too easy for us to not feel like exercising and wanting just to slump on the settee. So a couple of tips here is finding your mojo. So find a goal that motivates you, particularly find movement or exercise that's going to help you to stay active. And taking stock, so before you Google sort of menopause, weight gain, which I've done many, many times, take an honest look at what's going into your supermarket trolley, or what you're putting in to that supermarket trolley online too. And just asking ourselves some simple questions. Have we become a bit too reliant on processed foods? Those quick fixes if we're running out of time, if we're sort of eating on the go as well, or are you eating and craving those carbs? What are your portion sizes like too? It's kind of all in the mix. So maybe keep a food diary to see what's going on. And then, as I said earlier, maybe getting some support from a registered nutritionist as well, but always thinking exercise, thinking movement, and also what you can do to shift our emotions. So I find getting out into the fresh air just helps to kind of shift those and to think in a little bit more in a sort of a linear, maintained way. And finally, the key thing I wanted to get on to, which was the message today, which is around eating our emotions. So I always talk about just checking in to say if you're feeling a hole in your stomach or you're feeling a hole in your heart. So we can eat our emotions. So if we can kind of look at what we're eating, but also tune into what the emotion behind it as well. And Dr. Chatterjee, which you may have heard about, has got a great technique called the freedom technique, which is the 3 Fs, which he talks about feeling into the situation, then talking about feeding. So what is the emotion I'm trying to feed when I'm sort of, leaning towards, the crisps or the chocolate, and then to find an alternative for it. Another great book that I would recommend is something called The Binge Code by Alison Kerr, and she talks about her Zen 10 technique too. So thinking about, am I eating my emotions before you move to and grab the sort of the quick fix, the carb fix, the sugar fix. So I wanted to leave you with that today. Thank you for listening. Apologies for the belated post, but I will be back on Friday with the letter F. So take care and bye for now.